Frank, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, The Winner's Paradigm, brother. It's an immense honor because I've been following you for a hot minute and really just taking the time, to one, observe you, see the great man you are, but two, having the opportunity to have your days is amazing having you here, brother. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day. I don't want to bore you too much with hyping you up, but thank you for coming on. Would you mind giving us a brief intro, who you are, what you're passionate about today, brother?
No, I greatly appreciate you having me on. My name is Frank McGovern. Fuck it, Frank. Phuckit on Instagram. I am first and foremost, I'm a father. I got 4 kids. I'm an active real estate investor. Real estate is something I've been doing now for like over, since 2010. um, and my passion is just, fitness and personal development. It's something that, the personal development stuff I've been into for years. The fitness I really have gotten into more just in like the last like 7 months. And it's really changed my life. We had
Mhm.
the same mentor, Coach Wes Watson. I like linked back up with him like in July. My wife had actually just said that she wanted a divorce. This was like at the end of June, first week in July. I kind of went to a, and at that point in time, I was like fucking feeling sad for myself, like how the fuck could she be doing this to me? Like why me? I go to my mentor, my real estate mentor, Mark Evans, his event in Cleveland, and Wes Watson was actually speaking at the event. Who has a fucking absolutely amazing story? Go follow him if you haven't. Um, but he just fucking resonated with me. Like it really resonated with me that like consistency and discipline and following your conscience is the key to getting anything and everything that you want in life. And, you know, again, kind of going into that event, I was fucking sad, feeling bad for myself. I literally like lost, I couldn't even eat when I was in Cleveland. I was so fucking stressed. I had like lost like 10 pounds just in like a week from stress. So what resonated with me is again the consistency and discipline, and like I did a lot of self-reflecting after kind of at that event, like being in Cleveland at the event, and then just kind of that week after. And I was like, what the fuck did I do to put myself in this position, and what do I need to do to never put myself in a position like this again? And if I,
Oh,
just being honest and reflecting, where I've come from to where I'm at, like is fucking, drastic improvement changes and all that, right? But if I was
yeah.
being honest, I half-ass everything in life for the most part, and I don't commit to anything. Um,
Ooh.
I was trying to always put in minimal effort for maximum results. And don't get me wrong, like that honestly got me from being fucking, poor welfare, from birth till 18, fucking lots of fucking crazy shit in life to a point where I've changed. My kids' lives are way fucking different than mine, right? So it's like if I look at from where I came to where I was at, it was like great improvement. But what got me from being fucking poor to kind of living comfortably was not going to get me from living comfortable to where I felt what I desired, what I deserved, the type of person that I felt like, that the stuff that I wanted, right? But in reality, like, all the stuff I wanted, like I was not the type of person that was ever going to attract that shit. So
Amen.
I focused too much on like I knew the how, like I know how to get fucking money, but like I wasn't focused more enough on the who to be attracting all of the stuff that I said I wanted and needed. So I've never been in shape like that in my life. Like I'm 6'2". Right now I'm like 195 to 200. Best shape in my fucking life at 40 years old.
Yeah, brother. I seen that.
When I was in 8th grade, I was like 5'11", 240. When I was in high school, I was like strung out on drugs. So I was like 6'1", like 175. But shit, even when I met my like wife when I was 23 years old, I was like 250, 260. So I struggled with drugs a lot, like from the time I was like 13. I had a kid when I was 18, so that kind of got me off him for a little bit, but kind of bounced back and forth. I was fortunate, kind of got off the drugs in my mid 20s, but I picked up like the drinking, right?
That's how it
And
happens.
Yeah, and my conscience for years would tell me to stop drinking, but I just couldn't. The devil was winning out. Like I just couldn't get control of it. But it had like such a fucking negative impact on every single area of my life. Um, and fortunately, I actually have a little over a year sober.
Hell yeah, bro.
As of December 11th, I had a year sober. But like after I stopped drinking, like I had this void, right? Like it's weird because like, I've been into something good or bad since I was like 10. Basketball, doing drugs, selling drugs, women, sex, fucking business, something. Like I've just always had been into something. And for a while, unfortunately, it became the alcohol. So once I dropped the alcohol, I didn't really pick something up. But once I linked up with Wes, I had already dropped a voice, and then I got dialed in with the fitness and nutrition, and it literally changed my fucking life. I feel like a different person. Like I just went to an event with the same people that I was at that event in Cleveland with. I was in Marco Island, so like 6 months later,
Mhm.
and they were like, so many people came up to me and they were like, "Damn, bro! Like you, not only do you look like a fucking different person, but you literally seem like a different person." And again, I'm not a motherfucking finished product by
No, I could.
any stretch.
I don't mean to interject, bro, but bro, I've been watching you for like a year, dude, and I can even see that, like, from when you first started and you first were posting you doing burpees with your shirt off to where you're at now, bro. You look fucking good, dude. Like,
Thank you. I
I can tell
appreciate
the
that.
shit you went through in that, and I don't mean to interject, but
No,
chop
go,
it up
please
real
do.
quick. That resonates with me, bro. Like, I was drinking a gallon of whiskey at one point in time, just getting fucking faded because I
Yeah,
couldn't just process, like I said, the situation that happened with my stepdad, the crazy fucking thoughts after that. My dad was very abusive. So that was always one way where I wanted to be bigger, was to protect myself, whatever. I'm only 5'8", so you got the height on me, brother. I feel fucking tiny and short every time I see everybody, so I gotta have this size to back it up. And then two, you talked about environment. You're from Philly, so I know them motherfuckers over there is tough because I had a Marine from Philly, and that was all that. If you fucking like fighting, you love Philly, and I'm like, well, I don't like. I just dealt with fighting every day because I learned not to bitch out, and that was it for me. Was as a kid, I literally got in fight in preschool because shit was starting in there. So it's funny when people say that, like, people don't know race. Fuck yeah, they do, dude. I got in a fight in preschool because some white kid told me that black boys don't wear Vans. I'm more Mexican than I am black. I didn't grow up with the black side, so I'm always at that fucking shit where I gotta explain myself. Where the blacks are like, oh, you're not black enough. Then I go with the Mexicans are like, oh, you're black. Or it's like, oh, your physique, like always something. So for me, it was that. And then but definitely when you're saying, dropping the vices, it was that. And I was thinking about that. And literally yesterday that hit me was I see one of my buddies doing good, dude. And we were like, I'll be with him, popping the pills. He'd be crushing them, snorting them. And I just
yeah,
seen him doing good. And I was like, bro, I feel so fucking happy for him. Like, people don't understand what it's like when you drop the vices, when you get aligned to what you got to be doing. And that's the same thing for me, drop the 55 pounds. I actually started gaining weight now on a cut because I'm gaining more muscle and I'm pushing myself and up the carbs. And that was something crazy is like people don't understand that power. Like you're saying, when you get in the best shape of your life, when you show up with that energy, when you go to the events like that, like people coming up to you and be like, hey, bro, what did you do? That's inspiring as fuck. So I just want to
yeah,
commend you for that real quick
and
and
you
interrupt.
and so many fucking people, like hit me up because I'm like very vulnerable, I guess you could say, especially like the last since I've been really dialed in, like just with my alcohol, like I'm going through a divorce. And it really feels good, like just getting, people hitting me up, like, like I needed to hear this today, right? Like, and it's like a lot of the times it's just me kind of, it's not like I fucking plan out all this fucking post or videos. It's more like, like how am I feeling in the moment or like what am I thinking about? Like what is it on my conscience? And I'm just sharing it, good, bad, or indifferent. And it just like helps a lot of people, and it's like it sounds corny, but like helping other people, right? And just really genuinely knowing that you have a positive impact, like the feeling and fulfillment that I get from that, like, I've done pretty well in real estate. I've gotten $300,000 checks. The fulfillment that I get from like genuinely helping other people is a feeling that I get from nothing else.
Boom. And I think that that just sums up who you are as a person, brother. And that's exactly why I've been watching you, and have the opportunity to interview for this podcast, is when we talk about the mindset, when we talk about showing up in life, you've been through that. Let's talk on addiction real quick. I know we talked a little bit on it, but people don't understand, what it's like to have those vices take grasp of
Yeah,
you. But two, to break the cycle. And I think that's the frustrating part too, is like people want to say that, oh, it's easier for you. It's easier for that. It's like, it's not easier for no one. And that's why I fucking hate when people say that shit. Is because it's like, you don't understand that every fucking day is a battle. And even psychologists will say you don't just get rid of an addiction.
no,
It's
you have
something
to
you manage for the
substitute
rest
it.
of your fucking
Yeah,
life.
once you're an addict, you're not ever not a fucking addict. It's a matter of channeling it in the right direction. Like I always used to say, like I said this since I was a fucking teenager, everyone that does drugs is not an addict, and every addict does not do drugs. Some
Oh,
people that are addicts, they were around positive environment. Their addiction is business, fitness, a positive. They've never had a negative addiction because of the environment that they grew up in, but they've had those tendencies. My dad was a heroin addict my entire life. He started shooting heroin when he was 18. He didn't stop shooting heroin until I was 17 years old. By the time he stopped, I was already fucked up in the game. Like there wasn't shit he could say to me. It got so bad between me and him. I can remember, because I got three sisters and we were fucking poor. It was a struggle. And it was like, damn, I wish this motherfucker died just so we could get a social security check. And in hindsight, it's like me and my pop got a really good relationship now. Like that's fucking crazy and sad that I
awesome.
ever like felt that way. But I'm just being honest. Like I was so fucked up on drugs. It was again, he did heroin my entire life and it was a struggle. Like we were poor, but we didn't grow up in like a real bad neighborhood because six of us lived in a two-bedroom apartment, and the apartment complex, my mom and dad kind of helped around the complex, so we got reduced rent. So it was like I always felt like kind of like an outsider, like in the neighborhood that we lived in. You know, we would go to my basketball games. I played ball growing up, and it was like he's in the stands, like nodding off. Like as a little kid, that's embarrassing. Like the other parents like weren't like that. Like they looked, I always felt like the majority of people we grew up around like looked down upon us, because of how, we were just different than them. Like that's how I felt anyway. Um, I struggled with, I started just smoking weed and shit when I was like 13. Then I started taking acid, drinking, taking Xanax, snorting coke. Like I was an equal opportunity user. If it wasn't heroin, just because my pop did it, I stayed away from opiates, like for when I was in high school. But aside from that, I was down for whatever. Um, I actually can remember, like I had got kicked out of high school twice. I was a senior in high school, fucked up on drugs, just depressed. Thinking about killing myself all the time. I was like working at this job or whatever, and I just kind of was like fucking like, man, fuck this shit. Like I don't even want to live no more. I remember I like just told the job, I was like, man, I don't feel good. I gotta go home. Like I walked the fucking like miles to my house. I remember like this shit like it was yesterday. I went downstairs in my basement. I had grabbed 2 bottles of pills that I had. I walked upstairs to the kitchen or whatever, poured a big ass fucking thing of iced tea because that's like all that we fucking drank was like the sugary powdery iced tea.
Oh,
And I remember just like thinking like that's it, like I'm gonna just end it. And literally I fucking as I go to walk back into the dining room, and like down the pills, my mom walked in the front door. And she didn't like I kind of just like played it off. She knew I was fucked up on drugs, so she wasn't like thinking like I was about to like down the fucking bottles of pills. And I never even told her like that for like years later. And then literally within a couple months of that happening, like I found out I was having a kid, and that changed the course of my life, totally. Because I was 17 when I found out I was having them, and I just in my mind, as soon as I found out like I was having a kid, I was like, I got to get my shit together. I was like, I'm not going to be like how my pop was with me. And
hell
I
yeah, dude.
graduated high school in June of 2001, and then he was born in December. Um, I literally got high up until probably, I guess, like the end of the summer. And then I like literally started going to community college, got a full time job, and started like raising him. I did that shit for like 3 years, got my associate's degree, and I got burnt the fuck out. So I kind of was like, I'm gonna take a semester off. Took a semester off. One semester became, a couple years or some shit like that, and got back into selling coke. When I got back into selling coke, like I was in a couple bad car accidents, and when I was selling the coke, I took one Percocet for the first time in my life. I guess I was probably like 20, 21, something like that. Within 30 days, I was taking like 150 to 200 milligrams of Percocets a day, which was the equivalent to doing heroin just in pill form. But in
Yep.
my mind, because I wasn't snorting or shooting heroin, like I was better like than the quote unquote like junkies that were doing that.
That what's funny is one of my boys would say that he was slanging hard, and that was one thing I always stayed away from was anything harder, and that was his thing. Is like, oh, don't do this weed, because I was just the middleman. I was cool with everybody. I was the one knowing exactly who's getting high, and I would go over there, hustle them out because I didn't have no money. So I'd be like, "Hey, let me run to the store for you. Go get hot Cheetos. Go get whatever." And it was funny because one of my boys would give me weed, and it was fun too. Like I never had rolled joints or anything like that. So I got up to be older, and people were like, "You never rolled a joint before?" I'm like, "Nah, bro. Homies just give me the shit, and I'd be good." And it was funny because that's what it was. Like I had one friend and I called him Zan Master because homie would have like 1,000 pills on him at once, and he would just give them to me. And that's how I learned like antidepressants and me don't work because I would pop so many, and then I would fucking feel depressed wanting to kill myself. And one of my boys would be like, "Hey, these perks, the OxyContin, that's synthetic heroin." And I'm like, "No, it's not." And I just take
Yeah,
more and more and more,
same shit.
and then fucking drink because Burner
Technically
came out with
speaking,
that.
like the perks, so you taking a whole bunch of
Yeah,
perks is literally worse than you taking the equivalent of OxyContin because I forget there's something in there,
yeah,
but it's
bro. And then
literally
you
like worse.
drink and wash that shit down, and then you're just fucking wilding the fuck out. And that was me, just getting blacked out. I was more of a drinker, so I was just drinking, 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 blacked out all the fucking time. So definitely when you're saying that, bro, like that resonates with me because I know exactly what it is. And for me, I had the inverse. You're saying like how your dad was and so forth. My dad had it all put together. So everybody thought that, oh, this is a great fucking dude behind closed doors. He's doing coke all the time. Well, excuse me, some people knew what he was doing, but he was successful.
Yeah.
So it's justifiable. And
Yeah,
in his case, it's like,
he was a functioning drug addict.
yeah, dude, everybody would give him a get out of jail free card. And that's why today me and him I don't respect him because he would lay hands on me. My earliest memory is him beating the shit out of me, my mom. He beat the shit out of all his girlfriends, his ex-wife. I would have to de-escalate everything. And that was one thing for me. Is like I can't respect a man who lays his hand on women and children. And if you do, okay, well, make amends to it. But two, you can tell the character of a man, just like you, bro. You can tell the character of a man by his actions, the way he shows up. All you gotta do is really just fucking listen to them, and two, do the self-development, and you can read that shit like a book. And
Yeah.
that was something for me, it's like I did with my own addictions of going through the same things of whether it was sex, drugs, weed, drinking. Like it was always some way or form, escaping to that vice. And
Exactly.
it was funny because as I got sober, whatever, I started realizing that and like realizing the life without it, and like, hey, you can't live that way. And it was funny because that was the way he was. My mom's, they drank every day. And I recently just talked to my dad about 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago now, and he was crying and he's like, addiction's easier for you, you don't understand. He pulled the race card because we didn't grow up with the black side. So he's like, the Mexicans, they be drinking all the time, da, da, da. I'm like, bro, my mom drank every fucking day, dude. Like I repeated the same shit. I had to break the cycle, dude. Like people don't understand. I got off that call, dude. I wanted to fucking drink so bad. I did like 200 push-ups. I did burpees. And literally, I felt that emotion for a whole fucking day until 4 p.m. the next day where I can go to the gym because my kid was sick. And my wife's recovering some surgery. So I had to fucking like wait. And it was something for me where like that just really sat with me. And I was journaling all day. And I was like, why is this hurting me so bad? Why? Well, it's because we fucking went through enormous amounts of pain and realizing, especially like how you said, bro, like you realize like this isn't the fucking way. We're complaining about how our dad was and repeating the same exact shit that we knew wasn't going to lead us to the life we want.
And it's funny because like the first time I can really remember my conscience really speaking to me was when I was on the perks. Like it literally
Yep.
like I can't remember. I probably had like a really bad perk problem for like roughly 18 months or something, but I was like getting it in, like selling mad coke, just like living fucking reckless and crazy. But it got to a point where like I want to say for a couple months, every time I went to bed, like my conscience would say, "You got to stop. Like you're going to kill yourself. You're going to leave your son behind." And I couldn't. Like I just couldn't stop. Like it would. I'd have that conversation with myself every fucking night for months. But when I woke up in the morning, like, you take that much perks, you will physically feel sick and in pain if you don't take them. So it was like that the perks kept winning out. And then like me and my mom, like I love my mom to death. She's like my fucking heart besides my kids. And it was obvious, like, I'm sure to everybody, because like people wouldn't even say shit to me. Like nobody would say anything to me about being fucked up on perks. Like
That's what I hated too. You know
my
what I
one
mean?
homie that like he's dead now, like he was the only one that had the balls to say something to me. Like nobody would say a motherfucking thing to me. And like mind you, like I was clean for 2.5 years or so. And then I went from being clean, college, working, taking care of my son, to now I got back into selling coke. I'm driving my son around fucking while I'm selling the coke, fucked up on perks, thinking, the cops ain't gonna pull somebody over if they got a baby in the car. Like that's the fucking mindset that I had. Fortunately, one day, I felt that if I told my mom how fucked up I was, it would it would allow me to stop, because I knew how much it would hurt her. So I like opened up to her about it. The next day, I literally locked myself in my room for like 3 or 4 days and detoxed myself from like 150 to 200 milligrams, like no fucking nothing to wean off, just fucking cold turkey. And it
Fucking
was like fucking hell. Like I legit felt like I was like dying. I couldn't, I was shitting all the time. Like 1 minute, I feel like I'm fucking dying of heat. The next minute, I'm freezing and I need 20 fucking blankets on me. It was literally like the fucking worst experience I've ever had in my life. But with that being said, I feel every fucking one that has an opiate problem should go through that, because if you do, trust and fucking believe you will think twice before you ever pick up an opiate again. Because since once I, went through that shit, I never touched a perk again in my life. Uh,
bro, that's powerful, bro. And you know what's funny is I went through similar, I wasn't taking nearly as much, but I was taking a lot and drinking. And I got knee surgery, brother. And they gave me some Oxycontin, and I took like 4 of them. And I still did like it was kind of that like, oh, I need to take more feeling. I was like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
this shit's not kicking in. And I literally just like flushed him down the toilet, bro. Cause I was just like, I can't fucking have this. I already knew I fucked up in taking 4. But I was just like, I was still in the military too. So I was like trying to make sure, because I knew I'd be fucked. I'd get kicked out. And that was my escape from home.
yeah,
So it was funny because I was just like, had that thought, of like, hey, I need to get rid of this shit because I'm feeling it that I just need more. I need more. I need more. And
yeah,
then literally just wanted to start drinking while on the pills, because I was like, well, at least if I drink, I can escape this pain. I don't have to just sit here, in all this physical pain. Uh, the reason why that triggered even worse, because I got knee surgery, and then fucking I was walking without the crutches, and I ate shit and smacked my face on the floor.
ah,
And then I was like, I should just get faded. And it was just like, what the fuck? And that's really how I started listening to myself and like writing it out, writing it down and saying it out loud, like, how fucking stupid I sound right now.
yeah.
I should just get fucking faded instead of being like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean?
It's just our brains get wired that way. Like it just like it's like I feel pain, let me fucking numb the pain. Like that's what it is. It's just an association. But yeah, so after after I got fucking, I kicked the perk habit, started getting my shit back together. I actually like met my wife, I think like about a year later.
It's awesome.
And unfortunately, that's kind of when I started getting into drinking, drinking more and more. I was never one to drink every day. Like I would drink, and this is, there were sometimes I'd maybe drink once a week. Sometimes I'd drink a couple times a week. But when I did drink, I would make up for the times I didn't. Like
That was me.
it would be rare for me to drink and not get blackout drunk. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy to me. Like I would hear people say like, "Oh my god, like I got blackout drunk." That's never happened to me before. Like I can't even tell you.
I was a
Um,
regular dude
in,
pissing all over
in the last
myself, and yeah.
15 years, like I'm being honest, like it's over 1,000 times, like, and that might be a light number. Like it would be, you know, again, it would just be rare for me for that not to happen. Like because I would just fucking bang, pound fucking beers, shots,
And
then
how
mix
they
them.
say if you black out, that's a sign saying if you keep drinking, you're gonna die. And bro, we'd be blacked out still drinking, and then you wake
And
up the
people
next day, you're
people
like,
people
I'm
wouldn't
up.
even know I was blacked out. Like,
Yeah, dude.
they like I would literally like have to like look out my window, like, oh shit, is like did I hit something? Is my car there? You know what I mean? Like And it got like really bad. Like, so again, for like fucking a long time, I knew I needed to stop drinking. So in 2020, um, the Super Bowl after, right? So like again, like I was struggling, my conscience, stop drinking, stop drinking. So I can remember the Super Bowl in 2020 in like February, first week in February, it is always. So I was like, you don't fucking drink during the Super Bowl. You're gonna do good. Sure enough, I didn't drink at all during the Super Bowl.
Hell yeah,
But
dude.
I went out after the Super Bowl was over. And boy, oh boy, did I make up for the drinks that I didn't have during the Super Bowl. Like I woke up the
In
next
there.
day, and again, another fucking blackout drunk night. And it was just like I got to do something. Like, and 75 hard at the time was like a super popular thing. And it's funny because I knew people like in the entrepreneur space that like did 75 hard. And when people would tell me about it, like I wouldn't verbalize this, but in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I could stop drinking for 75 days. Well, the next day when I woke up, I was like, fuck this. I'm doing 75 hard. Well, I so at that point in time, I weighed 260 in February of 2020. I completed 75 hard. I completed phase one, and I started phase two, and I tore my MCL playing basketball, like this on the second day of phase two. So from February to like May or June, it was like when I kind of tore my MCL, I went from 260 to 195. Best fucking shape of my life. Right. So my wife, she was more aware of my drinking than anyone else. She begged me when I completed 75 hard, like, please don't like start drinking, like you're doing great, like you're gonna go back. And I was like, like, no, I'm cool. Like I got it now. Like I promise if I go back to how I was drinking, I promise I'm going to stop. Well, after I tore my MCL, that fucked me up mentally. Within 2 weeks, on crutches, I'm back in the bar getting fucking blackout drunk. So that happened, continued on for the rest of the year. So 2021, I completed 75 hard again, in the beginning of the year. And then again, she's like, you did great. Please don't start drinking again. Well, sure enough, I did not listen and got the drinking. So, like, we got to a point where over that time, she was like, listen, like, I can't do this. Cause she would literally tell me, like, I would go out. Like, it was not like I'm drinking in my house. Like, I would never really drink in my house. So I'm going out to a bar, getting blackout drunk, and then I'm driving home. So she would say to me all the time, she's like, I literally worry about you coming home at night, like that she's going to get a call that I died or I killed someone. She's like, I can't keep doing this. And I would tell her straight up, if you're making me choose between you and the alcohol, you ain't gonna like the choice that I make. And sure enough, she got tired of it, and that is honestly what led to me getting on the path that I'm on at this point, because she said that, I was in pain. And to me, when men experience pain, that's kind of when we grow the most.
Boom.
So that fucking happened. The her saying she wanted to leave, me linking up with Wes, and now 7 months later, I've never been on a better path before in my life.
Hell yeah, brother. And you know what? I empathize with you on that one. Is I went through the same shit. Uh, drinking in the midst. I slowed down when my daughter was born, but really,
And
fucking
that's another thing too. Like I'll mention too. I got a 22-year-old son and a 16 going on 17-year-old daughter. Like they used to worry about me.
mhm. Yeah, that was something I thought about with me. Like I said, was talking about complaining about how the way we had it, our parents, and then doing the same thing. My daughter was born. Really, I transitioned from one vice to another. So it was the 1,000 milligram edibles because my grandfather passed away, and really I was just losing my fucking mind. For me, ever since I was a little kid, I would parent my own parents because they were just young, going through their own shit, couldn't deal with their own vices. And that's really just where they're at in life now. Is like they think that this mediocre bullshit victim mentality stage that they're at is okay. And it's just like, it's not fucking it. My dad, I literally had to chew out there. My mom, I said, lose the fucking weight, provide some results, or we're not going to talk. And literally, she got mad at me. Fuck you. You're an asshole. You're just like your dad. And I'm like, I'd rather have results than sit here and fucking play the victim of woe is me, because for me, I had to do everything on my own. So grandfather passed away, who my dad's stepdad, Italian guy. Rolling Stones guy. He just loves smoking weed, listening to Rolling Stones all the time. I literally got Rolling Stones tatted on him from when he died. And it was funny because like after that, I was losing my mind of like, I don't have that man I can go to. I don't have that positive role model.
Yeah.
And really, when Wes talks about that, becoming the man that you
Yeah.
admire, really, my wife is going to leave me because I stepped out of the marriage. I fucked up. And it wasn't even, to my extent was it wasn't even that bad. I didn't go all the way. And it was like, no, you still fucking broke your fucking vows. You still dishonored God. You still dishonored your wife. You still didn't embody characteristics. You were fat. Let's be real. Prior to that, I was drinking. I stopped drinking for a while, and then I really wasn't drinking much. I drank one time, and that's all it took, to change my life. So I love when you said that. When that deep pain happens, that's when that man's going to change. And it's like that quote. Is a man will change when the fear of reality is more than the current fear of pain. And that's true. It's like if we're going through the shit, if we're feeling it, then that's it. So that's where I created this brand. Well, excuse me, I had the brand already about recalibrating your mindset, but really it changed to that man who was on his knees begging God, because that's exactly what I did. And that's where I started perceiving it as like, bro, you can die any day. And like I had a homie that died from fucking a drive-by. When I started doing better, I started going on this journey. I went to St. Louis, right? So I go to St. Louis to go to this event, working with a seven-figure entrepreneur that didn't pan out. Not a good dude after all. Out there, when I'm out there, 2 days before, one of my buddies died in a drive-by. My wife actually, while I'm on the plane coming back from San Diego, she witnesses a fucking shooting right in front of her. First time she ever experienced that in her life. So I started flipping the fuck out. I should have fucking went, and thinking about all these things. And it was crazy because again, we're tapped in that mindset, and I'm fucking like just pissed. I'm mad at myself. And it was like, maybe I needed to go through that to wake the fuck up and understand that I need to be better. And it's funny because that you say this right now, dude, because I literally went on my fucking story this morning and I was talking about it. And I'm like, bro, you know how fucking dangerous it is to just be faded and not be aware of your surroundings, to be high as fucking not worrying about it, or to be drunk as fucking not being able to do that. Like I had bad shit happen to me from just not being able to be functional within the moment
Yeah.
and being able to be around, my senses and so forth. And that's something that I'm big on, is like, especially the people I keep around me, like you got to be a stand-up fucking dude and you got to be a straight shooter, because I can't have somebody around me that doesn't take care of themselves, that doesn't show up in the best way possible. If shit pops off, I got your fucking back and I'm putting my life on the line for you because that's what I care about. It's like what you embody is everything. And that's what I love about you, brother. It's like you've done these things, you've shown up, and now you are that, and you're showing that, and you continually put your daughters on camera and you're sharing that journey with the world. And I think that's fucking awesome, brother. So I know we talked a lot about addiction and creating the habits, becoming that man you admire, but could you tap on, being fully present now with your daughters and what that is like with the relationship and how you have more offering to the world?
Yeah, to me, like just since I really like, not even I should say just dropped the drinking, but since I dropped the drinking, listening to my conscience more, dialed in with my fitness and nutrition, like my mind's just more clear and focused. I used to be so, again, I was poor, right? Money's always been important to me. If I'm being 100%, I've unfortunately put my business and money in front of people that I should not have. My kids, my wife. Um, I don't have that mindset anymore. Like to me,
Done the same,
don't get
bro.
me wrong. I have lofty fucking financial aspirations and goals, but I'm not emotionally tied to that outcome anymore. Like I don't tie my self worth to my net worth anymore. Me being a very good dad is probably the most important thing in the world to me. Uh, just continuously trying to just become the best version of myself, like following my conscience as much as possible, and just um, just I feel that in the last 6 7 months I've grown closer with all four of my kids. I'm honestly ashamed to admit it, but just because of how I was for a very long time. Like I created an environment that, my kids were scared to like, really talk to me, especially like my two older kids. My wife was scared to like kind of open up because I would just kind of react, at times. Well, I feel like I've completely changed that, where they're more comfortable like speaking to me, and that
That's
allows
awesome.
us to just have like a much, closer relationship. And listen, I'm not like me and my kids have always been super fucking close. Like, so I'm not saying that we had a bad relationship. um, or I don't even think I was a bad father compared to like I wasn't, to me I wasn't scratching the surface in terms of what I was capable of in terms of a person, a parent, father, like everything. And now that I am more focused on, my passion, my purpose, and just staying on in this lane, it just everything is changing in my life, I feel. And it's only been fucking 7 months really, that I've been like really committed to this like path. So I feel like I'm starting to get like the compound effect, where
It it really is, dude, and I'm always talking about that congruence. I literally just put a video out on that of compound interest and how it works in money. On Einstein's theory when it comes to money, and then also when it comes to just daily habits, what we do in life. And bro, that was something for me. Like December 31st, 2022, my wife was gonna leave me. I literally got on my knees and I was like, you know what, God, like I know I have a daughter, but you can just fucking kill me, dude. Like, let me go be with my friends. Let me go be with my grandfather. Let me go fucking have a good time. And it was just like crying in the midst of it and being on my knees, being like, all right, God, like if you give me a sign you're real, bro. One of my buddies that we weren't even close hit me up. He's like, hey, I was praying. Something told me to reach out to you. We
damn,
talked it out.
that's
He
crazy.
fucking, hey, you need to get this counseling. I start going to counseling. Life starts changing around. I've always been in the gym. My problem was the drinking, dude. I would
Yeah.
drink like crazy. I would eat like shit. So
Same.
got that
I
reeled
wasn't
in,
consistent in the gym, but I like just was never like the drinking and just like eating,
Yeah, dude.
horrible.
Dangerous. And that's where I was, and it was crazy because when I started putting the reps in together, when I started just focusing on the good energy, and I had a podcast already, and it was just like, all right, now it's time to talk about that. So for a while, and I know you can attest to this, like it was tough because it's like talking about your old prior self and all the fuck ups you did and admitting to it. And then all of a sudden you have a shift where you're not talking about the fuck ups anymore. And you're like, hey, I may have been this way, but this is why I show up as a better version of myself. And this is why I helped that man because I struggled for so fucking long. And it was funny because on the other side of that, and the things we don't want to talk about, a better man came. So for me, got with my coach Sean Michael Crane. I was actually looking into Wes, and then I interviewed this dude, and he hit me up one day just out of the blue. Hey, bro, I just want to check in with you. Not trying to get you on my coaching program because 6 months he literally gave me a game plan, talked to me before I even invested into him. This is what we can do for you. And he starts seeing the little things. He's like, I see you in the gym. I see you doing this and that. Like, I know there's more out of you. And it was crazy because just being accountable and having that coach that just tells me whatever led to a point to where like even coaching calls now, it's like, hey, bro, what are you doing? All these things, all these things, all these things. Hey, keep that shit up. I don't really need to tell you anything because you're on the mission of what you're doing. You know what you need to do. You listen to yourself. All the answers are within you. And you're like, what the fuck? So
Yeah.
I
And
really
that right
appreciate
there,
you.
let me just touch on that because to me
Yeah.
that is so fucking key, right? Like our conscience is always right, right? Like whether we want to take a week to listen, a month to listen, a year, 10 years or never. And some people you never
Yeah.
listen to your conscience. You're so fucking stubborn that your ego wins out. But our conscience like never knows, always knows what to do, right? Like I knew that I was not supposed to be drinking like way longer than, I stopped, because my conscience told me the same thing when I stopped the perks. Even my behaviors, you know, um, towards my wife at time, like wife and kids, right? Like I seen so much fucking crazy shit growing up. I would compare how I am to that. And there was
Yeah.
no fucking way that I should be using that as a baseline of anything to comparing how like well I'm doing. So it's like if I'm not beating the shit out of you and I'm just saying words like, oh, it's not a big deal. But like no, like words fucking hurt people. Um and again, I bring that up because like my conscience like would say like, oh, that's not like right, like when I'm in the like, the right state
That
of
was,
mind. But I would
yeah.
justify my bullshit like, well, I'm not putting my hands on her.
That's funny as fuck, dude. Because when I literally had the conversation with my dad, he's bipolar too, so he's real manipulative, narcissistic when it comes into shit. This motherfucker really tried to say, "Well, I showed up to your baseball games. I showed up to wrestling. I showed up to everything." It's like, but you were hungover. You did this or that. He doesn't remember the times, but my friends do. Motherfucker would pull me to the side. You're a piece of shit. You fucking suck. You're not my son. Drilling into me. I'm glad because like I see Wes yelling, it makes me fucking laugh on how soft people are
Oh, yeah,
when
yeah,
they
yeah.
can't handle that shit. Dude, my
The
dad was
coaching
laying
call that we
into
had
me
Yeah, the
and
coaching call that we had, like, within the last couple days, what was it? Was it Sundays? Yeah, Sunday, like, I heard him he was, like, talking about, like, somebody, like, like, 6 months ago, they're like, "Oh, Wes, like, got me 80 fucking grand, blah, blah, blah." And now we kinda just, like, said some harsh, probably shit dude needed to hear, He's like, oh my god, Wes is a fraud. Like, you're a fucking pussy.
Yeah, bro. And that's what it was for me. And I started realizing that when I started being around guys like that, especially in entrepreneurship groups. Like these motherfuckers never dealt with any adversity. And for me, like my dad would drill into me, bro. When I can tell you that was one of the greatest things, and I'm super grateful for it. And I thanked him for that. I was like, hey, bro, thank you for this. Like, I know you didn't show up as this. And he, in his head, he did whatever. I'm like, bro, all you need to know is both of your sons want nothing to do with you. You don't embody the characteristics. He was on a bunch of shit, got off of it. Now he doesn't have the results, doesn't look good. So I was like, you can't respect yourself enough. People could see that through you. I could see through you. You're full of shit, dude. Go fix that. Be about your word. Maybe it's a different conversation later. And it was funny because when I was really looking at it, and looking at like boot camp, for instance, like in the Marine Corps, that shit was so fucking easy because they'd be screaming. I'd be laughing because people were like crying. I only cried
Yeah,
because I
because
couldn't
you
drill. So
already
they were just like,
experienced that. Like, that's kind of funny.
yeah,
Like
they
that.
were just fucking
I
with me,
I
you know?
have a problem with being kind of empathetic, and this is like definitely a problem
Same
because
way.
like I have a problem being I had a problem being empathetic with my kids, my wife, but it's like the shit that I've been through, right? Like it's like so it's been crazy shit, like really fucking crazy shit. Like I seen my friend die 2 years ago. Like
Mhm.
I've lost two of like literally like my closest five friends growing up.
Same.
Um, drugs, alcohol, fucking like just crazy shit. So when it's like when somebody's like kind of in my mind, they experience something that they're saying like, oh my god, this hurts so much. But to me, like it's like what that's like nothing.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
I had
but
somebody who was saying like they don't have a woman. So they were talking about I needed to call my parents because shit got rough. I was like, bro, you're a pussy. I
yeah,
didn't mean to
exactly. Like
say
it's like, are
that.
you kidding me? Like you not like that's not that's absolutely
Bro,
nothing.
I
Like
said that shit. I go, bro, it's
that
not
is if
fucking
that's
deep,
gonna have
dude.
like if you just not being with somebody is gonna be like, oh, I got like good
Yeah,
fucking
bro.
luck in life.
I was dude, I had breakfast with one of my homies. Me and him were literally talking about what we were gonna do for when he was in college. I was in the military. He was supposed to come to my house that night. That motherfucker died. Didn't come back. The next day, one of my friends who doesn't even know him like that calls me and is like, hey, just let you know your boy died. And I'm all, what the fuck? And it was shocking because it came from somebody who wasn't even in our tight circle group. And I go and I'm at this dude's funeral and I'm seeing him in the casket. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck? You're supposed to come to my house. Like,
Yeah.
how?
Well, listen, this
So
is something I literally, like it was January 20th, it was 2 years. Um, one of my best friends, he was like my brother. He was in my wedding. One of my best friends since I was fucking a teenager was at the hospital when my two oldest kids were born. We kind of drifted apart because he got fucked up like on heroin. And I was kind of on a different path. So probably like 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess, we were still like obviously talking, just like not like fucking day to day contact. He fucking calls me. He's like, she's dead. He just had a kid, mind you, like 2, 3 months prior to this. Always just sold drugs, robbed people, like never really worked before in his life. So he calls me like one morning. He's like, she's dead. He's hysterical, crying. She's like, she's dead. I was like, what? What the fuck? His baby's mom overdosed and died on heroin with their kid in bed, like when they were 3 months old. So my initial reaction and instinct is like, I gotta hire this motherfucker, or he'll be dead in the next 3 to 6 months. So I literally hire him for my real estate company. And mind you, this motherfucker never he was like almost 40 and like never really had a job before in his life. It was drug dealing, stealing, hustling, like all that type of shit. So and mind you, he was literally still fucked up on drugs. He stopped doing the heroin once he had the kid, but he was still doing like other shit. So mind you, so whatever, I hire him so because I felt like he needed to be around me like all the time. So he got clean, started doing like okay with the business. He worked for me for maybe 10, 11 months. And then he was never a good employee and was never going to be a good employee. So in my mind, he was good, right? Like I got him to a point where like he didn't quote unquote need me anymore. So, I had fired him like I guess it was like November, December, 2 years ago. And within 60 days or so he was dead. He started like kind of messing up again. I kind of sensed he was messing up, and he was like he had reached out to me a couple times and just didn't kind of get back to him like the way I probably should or would have. And I went to a trip in Vegas, and he hit me up a couple times, and he's older than me, and I would always fuck with my friends because I was the youngest, but I was like, you guys can't beat me. So Yous are my little brothers. So I'd always fuck with them, you know, say that they were my little brothers. They get mad, you know, say, no, you're my fucking little brother. You're the younger one. So when he called me and left me a message, he was like, damn, he was like, damn, big bro. He was like, what are you mad at me? So him saying that, like, I knew something was up. So like I get home, uh, I get home like the couple days later, and so I talked to him the one night, and I could hear he was high, and so I kind of was like, I should go meet with him tonight and talk to him, but I was like, no, I'll do it tomorrow. So we agreed to meet up the next day, and he said he would call me in the afternoon and we'll link up. So I had went out fucking drinking that day, and I was waiting for him to call me, and I fell asleep. And when I was sleeping, I missed his call, and so I wake up, I call him, and he don't pick up. So I don't really think too much of it. I go out to eat with my family and shit, and his chick hits me up. Mind you, he just had another son. Um, his chick hits me up. She's like, "Oh, you with Mike? He told me he was going to your house hours ago." And I was like, "No." So my first initial instinct, and not saying I knew he was doing anything, was like, "Damn, he's got to be messing with some other chick." So I text him. I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck are you doing? Where are you at?" And then like 30 minutes later, his mom calls me and she's like, "Please tell me you're with Mike." And then like, uh, I just got a horrible feeling. I got a horrible fucking feeling at that point in time. I'm out with my wife and her family eating and shit. So I like call my sister, who's like my best friend. And I'm like, "Yo, you got to come pick me up. We got to go look for Mike." So we're like fucking, you know, searching around looking for him. And I was like, just take me home. Like, I just feel he's gone. And so I'm like laying in bed at like 11 o'clock at night. And I hear like a blood curdling scream from outside of my house. And it was, you know, my son, who's a fucking, you know, 20 years old. So I'm thinking something's wrong, like with him. Like, I fucking jump out of bed, run outside. I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He's like, it's Mike. It's Mike. I'm like, what? He's like, look. And I look down the street. I look down the street and there's like a church, like a couple 100 feet from my house. And so I run down there, and they got him on the ground, just trying to bring him back to life, but he was gone. And that shit just fucked me up, you know. Like, I never would drink every day, but I probably drank for like the next couple months, like after that. And it was just like, you know, I had lost my other best friend a month before my wedding, you know, not in the exact same fashion, but something similar. And it was just like kind of dealing with both of them at the same time, you know. And then I would just kind of tell people like, no, I'm cool, you know. I'd be like, no, I'm good, you know. I went through this before, like, you know.
Yeah. In there, bro.
But nah, I wasn't good.
You
And
know what? Thank you for sharing that, of being vulnerable, bro, and totally can empathize with you. After the incident that I told you about, I was in a fucking dangerous place. The only reason why I talked to my dad was I thought I was gonna have to make a move in my life. It was either gonna happen one or two ways. Either I was gonna die from my stepdad shooting me, or the cops. You know, and I was in the Marine Corps at this time too. So that was the fucking crazy thing, was I was just gonna do it like on a Thursday night, Friday night, whatever. I didn't even have a car, so it was just like, get a car, boom, do this, you know. And I was so in the midst of it, and my little brother, he was like 5 years old. His dad's telling him, "Oh, I'm gonna buy you a Glock. I'm gonna buy you a Glock." So I'm thinking about this, like, this 5 year old is gonna get a fucking Glock, you know, or he was like 5 or 7, you know. So I'm fucking tripping, just going through my shit. My mom, my wrestling coach, that's her boyfriend. They're just telling me like, "Oh, it's all in your head. You know what the fuck you're talking about. You're all right." Da 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 da. Like, and I'm just going through my shit, bro. The last time I seen one of my buddies who died of cancer at 19, I was talking about killing myself and I want to blow my fucking brains out. And I was like, you guys don't understand the pain I'm in. And this dude's terminally fucking ill, dude. And I'm over here just saying like how I want to kill myself or whatever, you know. So he died before I deployed. And bro, I felt so fucking ashamed of myself. I just kept drinking. I drank fucking 2 big ass bottles of Hennessy. The day of his funeral, I was actually supposed to go to his funeral with my mom, and then some girl was supposed to take me. I decided to go to the beach with one of my boys and just get faded. I was drunk for like 3 fucking days. I had got a tattoo of my arm of a warrior with her eyes covered in blood, just bleeding out. And when I got it, people were like, "You're so fucking selfish. Why would you get that tattoo?" And I literally had a dream holding my arm, and I just woke up crying because in the dream he touched me. He's like, "Hey, brother, I love you. I understand why you got that tattoo. Like you were hurting. You were hurting so much you couldn't even be there for me my last time seeing you. You know, honor me by being the best you can be." And still, I didn't get it. You know, I just wanted to just party, party, party.
Yeah.
Like y'all don't fucking get me. It went on to where I had 6 friends total that died. My grandfather that died. One of my friends' moms, who was the first person who ever said she's seen some good in me, um, died. And fuck, dude, that crushed me a couple months ago, where it was just like she died, and I was like, fuck, dude, like we're just living this life, living mediocre, being average, not doing what we need to do. So I appreciate you, bro, being vulnerable and that. I'll wrap it up with the last question here, bro. What would you say to the previous version of ourselves? We don't know where to start. We just want to align ourselves with our definition of success.
I would just say that there's, get started today, right? Like tomorrow's not promised, like I just stated, like I literally felt like, hey, I can push this conversation off to tomorrow. And that conversation never fucking came, you know, tomorrow's not promised. The person you want to become, the things that you want to accomplish, you have to start doing that shit today. And the shit
Yeah.
isn't easy, right? Like it's simple, follow a plan, stick to it, be disciplined, be committed, but the shit ain't easy, right? Like you're going to be fucking tested. It's going to be hard, but the more you follow your conscience, do the stuff that you know you're supposed to do, not only are you going to become the version of you want to become and admire, you will literally attract anything and everything that you want in your life. Like to me,
Boom.
uh, that's what life is about, in my opinion. And it's just like some people never figure it out. Some people figure it out late in life, but it's like literally just focusing on becoming the best version of you possible, and sharing it with the world.
Amen, brother. And you know what? I love you for that, brother. You're an amazing fucking dude. And I
I
understand,
appreciate that, my
may have
man.
not went through exactly everything you did, but I went through bits and pieces. And it's funny is I had a friend, to wrap up one last thing, but the first friend that died, he killed himself. He got in a situation that he thought his life was gonna be over because he couldn't go the way he wanted to go. And I seen him one night. This motherfucker was selling edibles. I got these chocolates, man. You want to get high as fuck? And I didn't want to drink that night because one of my boys was fucking paranoid as fuck that we were gonna have to start fighting. He was about to go grab a bong and crack it over somebody's head. And the whole night's just tripping, like, hey, fool, we need to get this fucking bong, crack it on this nigga's head. We're gonna be moving. Like, he was just fucking, and I'm like, hey, fool, kick back, dude. You don't need to be doing this. And he's like, nah, 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 fuck that, dude. And like, we're Mexican. I was Mexicans. There's other Mexicans on the other side. He's like, nah, fuck that fucking Mexican. Da-da-da. I'm all, bro, that's your own people. Like, why are you talking this? He's like, nah, he fucking looked at me. Da-da-da. And like, that's where the paranoia was coming in, and he was high as fuck. So he's saying that. And I don't know why, but I talked to my friend Jordan. I just felt like crying in that instance. And I don't know what touched me, but I was like, Jordan, you're a crazy white boy. Like, I love you to death, bro. You've always been. He was that dude who was smoking weed like in 5th grade, just wilding the fuck out, going through his shit. So I was just like, hey, bro, like, I'm good, da 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 da. And I don't know what it is, but like he gave me a hug, and after that, I just wanted a drink. So one of my boys came up right after him. Hey, drink this. So took 10 shots or 12 shots in a row, fucking faded. Seeing one of my boys sitting outside a car window, fucking almost fell out the car window. So they had to pull my big ass in, and they were struggling because my ass was like 185, so they're pulling me back in the car. And then 2 days later, he killed himself, and that was something where I just like couldn't forgive myself. It's like the last time I
Yeah.
seen my boy, I was just fucking faded as fuck. And that was the start of it. Luckily, now at a point in my life where like I'm thankful for that. And that's one of the things I think about every day. It's like
Yeah.
people don't
And,
understand the chance they have, but two, bro, you're dishonoring your fucking people by not being the best you can be,
and
given the
one thing
circumstances we've been through.
I definitely want to add is it's real fucking easy to do bad.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
bad is fucking easy. Like having no expectations of yourself, no one having any expectations of you, that's fucking easy. If you always choose easy, you ain't gonna have you'll have a shitty life. Like if you want your life to be something, it is gonna be fucking hard. You know, like it's you're gonna feel like giving up at times, like trials and tribulations. Like, but you know, they're both choices. You know, you can choose easy, you can choose hard. But if you keep choosing easy, you will have a shitty life. You choose hard, you don't give the fuck up, positive mindset, keep putting in the fucking work. You know, if you have a strong desire to get something, you truly believe that you can get it and you do the work, you can literally get anything that you fucking want in life. So if you don't have something that you want in life, it's your one of those three components is missing.
Amen, brother. And I think you wrapped it up amazing. I'm sad today because I got a fucking jam-packed day. I wish I could have just jammed with you all fucking day. That's all I'm like trying to speed it up. Because I gotta do that. I gotta get a meal in real quick before I get on the next podcast. But bro, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an immense honor. And I know definitely I would love to do it in person with you in the future or a second
100%.
podcast. But where can people keep up with you, brother, if they want to keep up with you, hear more of your story, your wisdom, brother?
Facebook and Instagram, I'm pretty active on. Just Frank McGovern on Facebook, and on Instagram, it's Fuck It Frank, which is Phuckit. That's actually like a brand, that I created. I'm from Philly, so it's a play on words. Obviously the PH, but also in life, when I wasn't listening to my conscience, I would say fuck it and not listen to my conscience. So this
Ooh.
is a different type of fuck it, a blessing, not a curse. And I want to show people if they can change their mind, they can change their life.
That's powerful as fuck, brother. Thank you again for coming on. It's been immense honor, brother. Thank you.
I greatly appreciate you having me on. And it was a pleasure. And I hope the audience got some value from it.